Welcome aboard, everyone. How you guys doing? You're on the Swivel at the Sportsbar. Hey, welcome, Ramsey. How you doing?
Very well. How you doing, Rich?
All right, you can hear me. Huh? Okay, that's good. Good. Hey, listen, man, I put some stuff together. We could chop it up as we go. I know you are all excited because your Bills are still alive, but we'll get to that. We'll get to the NFL in a minute. I guess that's you, huh? All right. So listen, the Golden State Warriors. Let's start with the NBA. I got a few charts to go through. They're having a bad season to begin with, and on top of that, their assistant coach Dejan Milojevic, whatever, he passes away of a heart attack. He's 46. So I guess, man, whatever is going wrong, this is some more bad news for them. So I would imagine they're going to be down for a little bit more. So they're out of the playoff picture already. So this definitely is a tragedy that they're going to have to live with and play through. So notable injuries of the week in the NBA. Cam Reddish, he's out for the Lakers. I don't know if he's back. This guy, Jaime Jack Wes, strain groin. Miami Heat. Desmond Bain is a big one for Memphis. They're having troubles this year anyway. They're not going to do anything, especially with Ja being out for the rest of the season. And Moses Moody. So there's probably a longer list, but these are the things that popped up when I looked for them. Any comments there? No?
No.
All right.
Nothing for me.
All right. The current power rankings, okay? A lot of usual suspects. There's a team on this list I haven't seen been mentioned in the power rankings in years. The Knicks. I don't know if that was a typo or somebody was drinking that night. So the New York Knicks are on the power ranking list, but they're in the 7th spot in the East. So I don't know. I just grab these things from time to time, but seeing the Knicks up there is pretty strange.
Yeah, I think maybe the author of this list is just very hopeful. I think that maybe in another 10 games you'll see, the fruits of the trade that they made a couple of weeks ago. So
well, actually, they're seeing some of it now. I mean, it's a good trade. They're a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do miss my man Quickly, but at least they got the forward positions set up because these guys complement each other a little bit better than before. So,
yeah.
Well, and we'll see. But they're still in the same spot. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, man. But another thing with this list is, yeah, I think it really, with the exception of maybe, the Celtics, but it kind of represents a changing of the guard, where you typically would see the Lakers in this list. On this list, you'd see obviously Golden State Warriors,
right?
When they're healthy, but seeing OKC Thunder and
back,
of course, you would expect the Nuggets to be there, but OKC Thunder and the Timberwolves, you wouldn't necessarily expect to see them in the top. What is it, 6, 7? So I think it represents a changing of the guard in the NBA, which is probably a good thing.
No, I agree with you. And listen, I nobody cares what the Clippers, do during the regular season. It's really the playoffs that matter for those guys. They're like the Lamar Jackson of NBA.
Yes,
they got to show improve in the playoffs. They're playing well this year too, primarily because their big two are healthy.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
and Harden's been playing well lately in the last.
Yes, he has been
10 games or so. He's playing well, and he mentioned that he wants to retire a Clipper now. So,
oh man, listen, it depends on what strip club he goes to that night, man. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't listen to one word he says, man. Yeah, not at all. That guy's definitely got like 6 different personalities.
Yeah, for certain.
Okay, the Pacers made a big trade. Now the Raptors made a big trade, I should say. They traded Pascal Siakam to the Pacers. Now, I think the Pacers are going to be a tough team, man, because they were doing okay already. We'll look at the standards in a minute. So they got rid of Bruce Brown, Jordan, Nora, and 3 first-round draft choices. So it's obvious what the Raptors were looking for. They were looking for those first rounders.
Yeah,
but to retool the team, because they weren't going to go anywhere with what they had. But you add 3 more draft choices to the guys they got from the Knicks, so they could retool and rebuild, So I don't think that's a bad trade for either one of them, because obviously they gave up on this year and next year probably. Yeah, and the Pelicans somehow were involved. I think it's probably for salary cap to even off the money. And so they were able to probably get rid of some salary cap by being a part of this, by giving away a draft choice and a player.
Yeah, there was some talk that Golden State might get Siakam from Toronto in exchange for Kuminga and a bunch of others. I was actually looking forward to that happening, because I think Siakam would have fit nicely into Golden State. But yeah, you're right. The Pacers, people forget what they were in the tournament, right? They were in the so they have some skill. And so it's a little bit surprising that they're not in the top 6 or 7 on this power rankings.
Yeah, I mean that's true. So that's why that whole power ranking thing is kind of suspect.
Yeah,
because the Pacers are ahead of the Knicks in the standings.
Yeah.
So here I always find these things, the best shooting guards, just Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell at the top. Then you got some guys at the bottom. The next one, this guy Bridges. Of course, you got the beard. You have Zach LaVine, and of course Anthony Edwards on the second tier. So this was from last year. So there's been some trades, like Dinwiddie is no longer on the Mavericks; he's on the Nets. That kind of stuff. Bradley Beal's not on Washington; he's in the West now. Of course, Jordan Poole is no longer at Golden State; he's on the Wizards. So there's a few other things in there. So I didn't memorize and look at all the names on this thing. So, but I know a few of them.
But you mentioned, Bradley Beal, so him being on tier 3, that's probably right. But
yes.
I look at Beal as more of a scoring guard versus a shooting guard. Because my definition of a shooting guard is kind of old school again. It's the guy that's going to spot up and get you that 20-footer, 15 to 30-footer. he's going to just spot up and hit that shot. And you know that he's going to shoot around 50% from the field. Whereas Beal, I would say, 60% of his points seem to be more slashing type points.
Yeah, he'll take it to the rim because he's athletic, but he could shoot too. But the point is, shooting guard and scoring guard are synonymous with respect to who's a point guard. That's what I'm saying. Like some point guards, like Curry and what's the other guy? He's old now. I forgot where he's at. Didn't he go to Golden State? He does the State Farm commercials and shit. My man. You know what I'm talking
about. Not Chris Paul. Not Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he could shoot, but he's a point guard too, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how good that whole trade was when they got him.
I consider Chris Paul as really more of a pure point guard because remember when he came out of was it Wake Forest, he could not shoot. He could not shoot that 30-footer, that three-pointer. He was basically a penetrating dish type of a guy. But his game has evolved where, yes, you're right. He can still.
Well, I'm talking about mid-range. He's a better mid-range shooter than a long-range shooter, no doubt. Mm-hmm. And what's the guy on he gets overlooked. He was on Toronto, then he went to Chicago. And I'm surprised he's not on it. Maybe he is. I just didn't look at it.
The chunky dude. He's with Miami now. Is that who you're talking about? He was with Toronto.
What you say? Yeah. What do you mean, chunky dude?
He's a guard, but he's kind of a thick dude.
No, not him. Oh man, DeRozan.
DeRozan. Right.
Okay, that's that who you're talking about?
Yeah. DeMar DeRozan. But I was talking.
Yeah,
about,
he can shoot. He's got a very good mid-range game.
Yeah, I'm talking about the guy that was with Toronto for a number of years, and he's with Miami. He's like 6-man now. I can't even think of his name.
Yeah, okay, me either. I haven't seen a lot of Miami's games this year, but I probably if I see him, I know who you would be talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just like I said. This list is like 12, almost a year old, and of course, the guys in the NBA move around. But your skill is your skill, regardless of what team you're on. So all right.
But just one quick thing on that one, Rich. But I was just kind of thinking back since, like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I probably know about 10% of the players in the NBA now, but 20, 25 years ago, I knew 90% of them, right? So I was thinking back to, kind of the shooting guards from the past and, guys like Drexler and Sidney Moncrief and Daryl Griffith, right? Guys like that. Byron Scott, those were really shooting guards to me, where they could take it to the rack, throw it down, and then, they could hit the 20-footer, the mid-range jump shooter, the jump shot. And then, you had guys like Paul Westphal and, Phil Chenier going way back and Mitch Richmond. So those were kind of the shooting guards that I grew up and you grew up with watching, right?
Yeah.
So, but the definition, it just seems like it's changed over the years to the point where a shooting guard today is kind of a combo shooting guard as well as somebody who can dish the ball a little bit.
Well, that's true. I mean, the guard play is kind of melded, right? Because can you really call Steph Curry a point guard?
No, not in the purest sense.
Not in the purest sense, So it's really tough. I mean, because he's just shooting guard as well.
Yeah.
He's your primary shooter. Period.
But I tell you who my favorite, and hopefully you'll get a laugh out of this. My favorite all-time shooting guard was our man Meadowlark Lemon.
Yeah, actually, he could shoot, man. Some of those guys would have been Hall of Fame players, man.
They would have been, man. They would have been.
No doubt about it. Okay, so I spotlighted Devin Mitchell and Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell's been in the league 7 years, Booker 9. And if you look at their stats, they're like twins. minutes played, points, rebounds. And Devin Booker is almost neither one of them won a championship, but Devin Booker is 1 year away from that magic 10 years. If he keeps those numbers up, that puts him. I think that puts him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
So I mean, especially his scoring, his minutes. Maybe his assists could be up a little bit, but he is the shooting guard. So almost 5 assists a game is not bad. So that means he does give up the rock once in a while.
Yeah, this is a good comparison. It really is.
Yeah.
If I had to take my pick, age aside, I would take Donovan Mitchell. I think he's more explosive. I know that Devin Booker, when he did score 60 or 70 a few years back, but I think Mitchell is a little bit more explosive. So if I have
Hey Trey, what's going on? Yeah, go ahead. I agree with you. I like Donovan Mitchell. And he's stronger, I think, and a lot more aggressive towards the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Arthur?
Hey, what's going on, Trey? Berg.
So,
yep. Hey man, welcome aboard, man. So we're just going through some NBA stuff here.
Let me just comment on my man Donovan Mitchell real quick.
Go ahead.
Out of Louisville, underrated, coming out of college, and you see he's really doing damage in the NBA. He got a 45-inch vertical leap, so that puts him, you see his scoring prowess. He can score 25, 35 at any night. So I hope that he can have a long career, just to see where his numbers end up. But look like he could be a Hall of Famer if he keeps it up.
Yeah, I use 10 years. If he could keep those numbers up for 10 years, then he's on the other side of that, I think. If you win a championship, that pretty much solidifies it.
Mm-hmm.
I like him too. And I haven't heard him being hurt that much either.
No. Yeah, he's pretty durable.
So he's pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
Correct.
But Trey, you mentioned 45-inch vertical leap, and I can remember back in the day, 30, 40 years ago now, where they were talking about David Thompson had a 44-inch vertical leap, and that was out of the world, right? And now that's kind of the 43, 44 is kind of the lower end. If you got a guy like Mitchell doing 45, so it's kind of interesting how the players have evolved over these years with the athleticism.
Oh, absolutely.
Daryl Griffin had a 48-inch vertical.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Some of these guys can get up, man. So here's the both the East and the West. You see where the Pacers are 6, so they're like locked in the playoffs, but only one game. There's only like one game between the 5th spot and the 7th spot, 1 or 2 games. So it's tight. It's tight in the East. It's even tighter in the West. So those from 7 to 10, man, it's going to be interesting to see those play-in games because depending on who's in the play-in game, they could be contending for some upsets. Let me just put it to you that way, depending on how healthy they are later on in the season. So we'll see. I think the Clippers may surprise people this year. Hopefully, they might surprise people in the playoffs this year. Will they get to the championship? I don't know, but they might do better than usual.
But the ugly thing about these standings, particularly in the East, now that you got it up on the screen, and you mentioned the play-in games where that's the 7 to 10, as you mentioned.
Right.
The Nets are sitting at 10, and they are what, 7 games under 500?
Yep.
So to be awarded an opportunity to play in, and you're 7 games under 500, I know that's today, and it's probably not going to change a whole lot. That's kind of a shame in a way that you can make the playoffs 7 games under.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I mean, remember that in the NFL, they had a couple of teams under 500 made the playoffs. I don't think that's the case this year, but there was a couple of years in there where they did.
It has happened. But if you look at the West, that's not the case, where the 10th team is
It's
the
one game
Lakers.
under 500.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
basically
one.
500. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have a point there, but I mean, listen, that's why the playing game is supposed to weed those guys out. Like, I mean, look at the Knicks, right? They're 7. The Knicks shouldn't lose to the Nets. They should be able to get in. And so the team after that, after the Knicks, those 2 teams should win those playing tournaments.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, they're one game, aren't they? So anything can happen.
No, if you're like the Knicks, if you're 7, you get to play 2 games. If you lose one, you got to win the next one.
Yeah.
But if you're 10, you're one and done.
Yes, true.
10 and 9, you're one and done. But so that 7 spot, I think the 7th and 8th spot, you get a little bit of grace.
I think the Knicks have a chance to move up a spot or 2 because one, Hillenbrand, he's hurt.
You talk about Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton. Yeah, he's a little hurt, so his status is unclear. And the Knicks made some improvements as far as the trades that they made. Right. The Heat is hard to say.
Let me tell you this. Before you go further. Pacers just got Pascal Siakam.
Oh, now that's a nice addition for him. Who did they give up for him?
They gave up a guy named Brown and another guy named Nora and 3 first-round draft choices in the future for Pascal Siakam to Toronto.
Okay. But, y'all spoke about the NFL teams that have losing records compared to the NBA teams. Now, the NFL teams, those teams with losing records did win the division.
That's right.
So that's the difference. Now, the NBA is they done made it sort of like a kid in school. He really can't win, but he get a participation. So just because you participate, we're going to let you in the playoff, and then you get a ribbon just for your participation. So, I think it does bring some excitement in a sense, and gives teams that you probably would never see in the playoffs a chance. But it's interesting. It's a lot of basketball to be played.
Yep.
I don't think the Grizzlies will move up any further because they, Bane is out 5 weeks.
That's right. It's 5 weeks? Wow.
Yeah. 2 of their top scorers out for an extensive period of time. And Morant, he's out for the season. So that was been a bust.
Yeah.
I don't know. Trailblazers and Spurs. I'm surprised the Spurs haven't won as many games as they have.
Yeah.
Just based off I'm just surprised.
Yeah, so am I. They got the new boy, and I think that the coach is giving him more minutes than he probably would usually give a guy that young. So he's getting him acclimated for the future. They're putting more time because this time, I think they wanted to have a time limit on him, but he's playing more and more. He's playing well, but he can't carry the whole team.
But the Spurs, they already really young. They real young.
Yeah.
You can't sit a 7'3" guy. I don't care who he is. You got to play him. You got to play the 7'3" guy.
But you can see how he's getting acclimated into being a pro with the big boys.
Once the speed gets you up, you'll be okay.
You need minutes for that. You definitely need minutes for that.
Yeah, and maybe it's time for a coaching change down there. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, Popovich has been there for forever, literally.
You speaking blasphemy in the sports world.
Yeah,
get rid of Pop.
Well,
they'll never get rid of Pop.
It happened in New England, right?
Well, let's ask you a question though, Ramsey. In football and basketball, what's turnovers the most?
Basketball, in terms of coaching.
No, I'm talking about in terms of players.
The turnover, I would have to
football.
say that the turnover is football, because of the injury, and they say that the average career is 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, when you talk about turnover in NBA, it's like the new players who displace the old players. And I don't even know how many players are the same on the Spurs. I know the young boys are new, so they haven't really been around Pop for any experience, extended period of time to get sick of what he's saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can see if you were like a, 8-9 year vets and the same coach, but these guys are young. So, even though he's been there a long time, to them, he's just another coach for a couple of years, 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
but Pop was there, what, 25? How long has he been there? 25
It's
years.
been over 20-some years. But what does that
Yeah.
have to do? What does that have to do with the new guys he has now?
Well, I think maybe unless Popovich's coaching style has evolved, because the players that come into the league certainly haven't evolved, right? They've got a different
Yes.
mindset than the ones that came in with, where he had Ginobili and Duncan and Robinson. And it's a different mindset with the players today.
So, you think he's got to go down there and reach them at the lowest? These millennials, you got to know how to use the internet and shit.
Exactly. To a certain degree. Yeah.
I mean, it's a thought. I can't just displace what you're saying, but he's pretty progressive as a person.
I feel a little different in regards to coaching basketball, because football, it's all about the execution. It's all about the X and O's. Basketball, you can sort of ad-lib it if you have the athletic ability. And if you can play defense in the NBA, you can make a team. That's the thing. You can make a team and Pop's about all about. So they say he's all about defense. And teams and players that come play for him, they know that the expectation to play defense is high. Now, football, if you can catch good, if you can run fast, you'll get a couple of shots. You can see it with the guy from Detroit, the Gibbs guy.
Okay.
He's fast, he's elusive, and you're starting to see his minutes rise late in the season. Basketball, just like you can see on the reverse side with some of these guys that have been in the league 16, 17 years, averaging 5 points a game. Rotate them dudes out. Don't send them to the G League. Let some of his young talent get in there. Instead, because most of these guys retire. Once you make the league, it seems like you're pretty much locked in. If you go over 5 years, you can sit on a bench and make $2 million for 10 years. So it's a difference.
Okay, so this
I just think with just one other point on the Spurs, if any one of the three of us were tasked to coach the Spurs this year, were hired, and we were 7-32, and we had the number one pick, supposedly the best player in the last 10 years, they'd be calling for us to be removed, most likely.
With your head.
You got a point. You got a point. Hey, listen, fellas. Listen. Ode to the Dallas Cowboys. I want to show you this thing. I think it's pretty funny. Hold on, just bear with me. Okay, let me do this again. All right. Let me do this right. Okay, I'm gonna do it right. All right. Don't want to mess it up.
Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, trash. Lost in the wild card.
Daddy, how long has it been since the Cowboys won the Super Bowl?
Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest. There's no Dallas Cowboy fans inside. Are y'all still them boys after tonight? Green Bay destroyed you. No championship for you. That hasn't happened for the longest time. So much has happened since you won your last. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, trash. Lost in the wild card. Green Bay just stood on your star. You haven't won it for the longest time. Maybe this won't last very long. You said you'd win this year, but you were wrong. Dak Prescott let down CeeDee Lamb. He's the interception man, and that's all that he's known for.
Hey man, I thought that shit was pretty funny, man.
Yeah. You have to give it to him for the creativity. See, that's the thing that I don't have. I don't have that type of creativity. So it's excellent. It really is.
Hey man, you listen, the Dallas Cowboys are getting it from all sides. But I got something a little bit. I want you guys to tell me what y'all think about this. All right, so I'm gonna share this next one with you, and I'm not gonna have any commentary to the end. I want y'all to watch closely, okay? And tell me what you think about it. Yeah.
In terms of playoff losses, where does this one rank for you?
Well, I don't have really. I can't reach back and look at the playoff loss.
Look at his face.
But this seems like the most painful because we all had such great expectation and we had hope for this team, and thought that we were aligned in great shape, and it didn't happen for us, and it's as fresh on me right now as it is on anybody else. But I won't get into any of the addressing of any aspects of it, any part of it, from the coaching to the players to what's around the corner. On a personal basis, I'm floored, and so not that there's any world's smallest violin for me being floored. I get that and I understand that, and I know where the responsibility starts and ends, and I've got that real clear, and I know that. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm disappointed for everybody.
Stop it there. All right, fellas. What do y'all think about that clip? Well, let's go first.
Well, yeah, I think that when he says it's probably the most disappointing loss he's had in the playoffs, I can probably agree with him because the expectations were so high for the Cowboys. They were heavy favorites. So I think he's probably speaking from the heart there, without a doubt.
Did you see it? I mean, okay, yeah. Go ahead, Trey. What do you think?
I mean, listen. We just spoke.
You got your dog in there.
We just spoke about the game passing somebody by. The game is passing Jerry Jones by. Hush up, dog. Now, as far as the team, this team was not equipped for the long game. It was not equipped for it. They did not incorporate the running game as needed late in the season. They did not try. They let Zeke go. We all know that. What's his name? Pollard. He's a scat. He's a good third down back. But as far as first and second, when you need that 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, they pass. Mike McCarthy's pass instead of running the ball. I'm a running back. I'm a former running back. I truly believe you should at least run the ball if you're between the 30-yard lines, you should always run the ball on first down. I'd rather take a yard or two, possible incompletion, 2nd and 10, interception. I'd rather get that. Down and distance is the name of the game. If I can get 3 yards of carry, I can get a first down. But you can see how the game has evolved to more of a passing league.
Well,
And
Jerry, you think Jerry Jones, he dictates the play calling?
No, Jerry Jones had nothing to do with the play calling.
That's what I'm saying. So how could the game, when you say the game is passing?
But even with the personnel that he choose, Jerry Jones ain't paying nobody. He ain't paying nobody. He paid Dak Prescott. He fought tooth and nail to pay Dak Prescott.
Yeah, look like but okay, so that's cool. I'm not disputing what you think about the team, but I've never, listen. All I could see is the pain on that man's face. Now, who says billionaires don't care about anything? I admire the fact that he could stand up there quivering. Clearly, he was crying before he went in front of the cameras, and he still did it. I mean, the guy was he was in some serious anguish. I mean, that's what his face looked like to me. I mean, maybe I'm the only one who picked that shit up, man. I don't think anybody really talked about him. And he looked like he was really genuinely just hurt and pained.
Yeah, it looked like that one game aged him 5 years. That's the way it looked.
Yeah. I said, wow, man, this guy is really hurting for this thing. This thing is not just a hobby for him, man. It's made him billions of dollars, at least the Dallas Cowboys have to be worth much more than $1 billion in real cash over the years for him. No doubt about that. But anyway, I just thought that was, interesting. That's why I put it up there. Okay, coaching vacancies, right? Just like shit, there's plenty of them. I don't know, any stand out to you guys as a better team to go to?
So I think the Chargers certainly have the quarterback in place.
Right.
They have a couple of good defensive players. They got Khalil Mack. I don't know what his contract situation is, but he had a great year. So I think that's probably, in my mind, the most attractive one that could be turned around, within
Quickly.
a year. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because last year he might even have taken a step back. This season, I mean, he might have taken a step back, and maybe because of coaching. What say you, Trey?
I mean, listen, let's just say I'm a coach. I'm taking any of these jobs. All of them have potential because it really comes down to a lot of times to the coach and his style of coaching and the motivation he brings to the players. Because even with Carolina and a lot of these, a few teams, they don't really make any changes. They stick with the same type of coach. The Tennessee Titans job would be a great job if they were to keep that team together. You have a good running back, quarterback. I would get a quarterback in the draft. You got good receivers. I would get a couple of defensive guys, and they could change their whole dynamic of where they are. The Commanders, I say give old boy a shot, let him try it, and go from there.
What your dogs want to go outside or something, man? Or what's happening with your dogs, man?
Man, she just as a German Shepherd, man. They do what they want. Jared Mayo, he's a good choice for the Patriots. He's a good choice. But he's gonna run to be a Belichick system. Just know that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. Listen, you know what? He might start out that way, but his own personality is going to have to take over, or else it'll be a losing proposition for him. I mean, they need players. They need a quarterback. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't give up on a young guy. He just wasn't ready to lead the team.
You don't think Mike Jones is that player?
Not to lead the team. Well, he's proven that, right?
But he's been injured. His injuries, and I compare him and the guy from Cincinnati. To me, they're about the same. Mac Jones needs a good receiver or two, but I think they're about the same. There's really no difference.
Yeah, I think the guy from Cincinnati is better than he is, but I hear what you're saying. But I think even when he was healthy, man, Belichick was like on his last leg or two with that dude. So
I think what happened with Mac Jones. It was Belichick's fault where he had Matt Patricia and he had two offensive coordinators last year, not this past season, but the previous season. And neither one of them had experience as an offensive coordinator. So that's
didn't Matt Patricia, wasn't he the coordinator before he left and came back? Because he was calling plays when he went to the Lions? Who did Matt Patricia go to?
Yeah, he went to the Lions, you're right. But they had two other guys that had no experience on the offensive side of the ball.
So let me ask you a question, though. So we're going to stick on this one. Do you think they're going to draft a quarterback?
Yes.
What about you, Trey?
With Jared Neal, let me see. He's a defensive guy. I think they stick with Mac Jones. I think they stick with Mac Jones. They get a quarterback in the second round, maybe not one of these one of these high-profile guys in the first round, and they're going to get that defense together.
All right, well, that's a thought. All right, so the first of all, I was kind of disappointed in Wild Card Weekend. It was only one good game. If you ask me, the Lions and the Rams. The rest of the games weren't, not even as close as the scores were. I mean, the Texans completely obliterated the Browns. The Chiefs did the same thing to the Dolphins. The Packers, man, just destroyed the Cowboys. And that 32 score was all in the last, that was like garbage points. And the Bills did to the Steelers. And, of course, the Bucks just ate up the Eagles, man. So the only game that was like down to the wire, then they say it was questionable because they didn't make this call when the guys were like mauling the receiver at the end. So, so hopefully this week will be a little bit better. But how did you guys see this weekend? I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it was disappointing from the standpoint of, the Eagles didn't show up. I thought for certain, even though they had lost 5 of 6 or 6 of 7 prior to the game the other day, I thought that they would kind of right the ship and at least show up. So it's kind of difficult to see that, disappointing to see that, because I don't think anybody really wants to see, Tampa Bay advance other than the people in Tampa.
Why you say that against the Bucs? I mean, they ain't that. I mean, they're competitive. They've been competitive all year.
Yeah, but they're another example of winning a division at basically 500, right? That's another example.
I think they were 9-8. Yeah,
exactly. So whereas the Eagles had the better record, but because they didn't win the division, they had to hit the road. So maybe that is something that the NFL needs to address. Just aligning everybody from 1 to 7 at the end of the year, and just going, first seed plays the 7th seed.
No, you win the division. When you win the division, you got to get a home game, man.
Yeah, you got to win the division. That's what it's about, winning your division.
Yeah, you got to get a home game for that. All right, so this was my bracket. I only lost one game, the Dallas Cowboy game, and I feel bad that I picked them now. But anyhow, the team I'm most afraid for is the Ravens. Yeah, they've been sleepwalking and eating chicken wings and stroking women for the last 2 weeks, and the Texans are red hot, man. Mm-hmm. My man Stroud is coming in there red hot. My man Lamar Jackson hasn't thrown a pass in 14, 15 days. Not in anger.
Longer than that, I think. Think about it. He didn't even play the last week.
That's what I'm saying. Well, that's right. So it's almost 21 days now almost?
3 weeks.
He didn't play last week.
She. I think that I can't stand it. If they lose this game, he's gonna get rings. If they don't win this game against the Texans, he's going to take the brunt, of course, and rightfully so as the quarterback. He's going to take the brunt. Nobody else is going to take the brunt of this beating if he don't win this game. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be like, I'm saying, I told you so. I told you so. That's all I'm going to say because, I don't like these long layoffs. They don't do any service in football. They just don't. Anyway, and then, of course, the Chiefs and the Bills should be a good game, but I think the Bills will beat them. The Chiefs don't look that good to me. So, and the Bills are hot. Your boy Josh is looking like he's running better than the running back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, your point about, the Ravens, if they don't prevail this weekend, that Lamar's going to take all the heat. But, it's possible that he could have a great game. 20 or 28 for 300 yards, couple of touchdown passes, and they lose. It's possible
Well,
because
that'll be a mitigating.
yeah,
That'll mitigate some of it, but when the writers are going to be unmerciful. He can't
Yeah.
win the big game. That's all we're going to hear. But
Yeah.
but keep on. What else? So I think the 49ers, I think they could be in trouble as well with the Packers. Man, Jordan Love is much better than people give him credit for.
Yes, sir. He's showing his true skills these last 8 games of the season. The second half of the season, he could easily be the MVP the way he's been playing. If you look at it,
He's looking good, man.
yeah.
You
Like
know,
you said,
and
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. No, I was just like you said. I think the Chiefs. It's going to be a toss up between the Chiefs and the Bills. Because Josh Allen, he has to be on his game. He has to be on his game. He can't be throwing interceptions. Can't be throwing miscues. I think the Chiefs, they're going to have to establish a running game. But both teams are cold weather teams, so whoever has the best running game will probably win. Like you said, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, he has to be 65-70% completion. He has to. And I think they're getting a tight end back. So that may change the chemistry that's already been established with the backup tight end. So it's going to be really interesting. If Lamar Jackson comes out hot early, I think he'll be okay. Because if he ain't in the game, he's sort of lost in the sauce.
I agree with you. They gotta start hard. And then you got the Lions and the Bucks. I got the Lions in that game, of course. Maybe the Bucks come back down to earth, but the Lions are actually playing good football.
Yeah. Solid defense. Good. They have the most balanced attack that I've seen as far as running that ball. Then your boy, the quarterback, is throwing the ball. He's putting it right there for the receivers to make easy catches. Baker Mayfield is still the anomaly in the NFL because you have a good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game, bad game. I ain't never seen him really have 2-3 good games in a row. It's up and down. So depends on where his head is.
Well, it should be. I'm just hoping it's going to be a much better weekend for football than last weekend, man. All the games should at least be competitive.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, one of the concerning things, certainly, if I had to put some money on the Chiefs and the Bills, I would go with the Bills. And it's not a hard thing, but I just think that they're ready. But one of the concerning things about that game is the Bills lost 4 or 5 starters in that game against Pittsburgh. They walked off the field and didn't come back in the game. So it's uncertain how many of those, I think it was 5 starters, will actually be available this week. So that could be that could add 4-6 points to Kansas City score right there.
Well, let me give you this, Ramsey. Let me give you this. The Bills were kicking their ass so much that the coaches might have said, you know what, you nicked up. We don't need you to come back.
Yeah, possible, yeah.
I think a few of those players definitely fit into that category.
Yeah.
Or else we would have heard some reports. I think we would have heard some reports if these guys were really, really out.
Yeah.
I think I would have heard some. I was looking, so I think I would have heard some reports. Now, maybe 1 or 2 of them, maybe. But I think the coaches just made a decision. You know what? You're nicked up. We ain't putting you back in.
Yeah. But,
that's my thought.
Speaking of that, putting you back in, the Cowboys Green Bay game where Green Bay was, taking them to the woodshed. Cowboys came back, scored a couple, and then the Green Bay Packers put their starters
put those guys back in. Yes, they did.
And you rarely see that in the NFL.
They did.
I think they were panicked.
Yeah. I think they were panicked. I mean, the game, but I hear them say, listen, you know what? We try to close it in a little too early. You're right about that. I noticed. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was interesting where quarterback went out, backup came in, all the backups came in, and then the starters went back in. So that's a rarity. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he said, you know what? They're getting a little too close. It's a half a minute left, but that's too much. All right, so here it is now. Here's my question to you guys. Has the NFL reached racial parity at the QB level? I could make the case that the black quarterbacks that left are better players than the ones on the right.
You can make an argument that we've arrived. There's no doubt about it as far as that position is concerned. You can certainly make that argument, and it seems like it's happened not gradually, but pretty quickly. Where 4 or 5 years ago, we certainly didn't have the numbers that we have right now.
But now you notice that these are the teams that's remaining in the playoff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So 50%.
Exactly. And the guy on the black side, even though he's a half breed, that's what I'm only joking, but they call him black. He got the rings. The guys on the right don't.
Yeah. I think you can see the difference in this coaching that a lot of the black quarterbacks get compared to the white quarterbacks and the press. It's like when you see it from the white guys, the press is always talking up the potential, the possibility, the desire to be great, this and that. They always giving them the upside. But the brothers, he can't make this throw. He's injured. He's not playing. And even we do it too. In our community, we sort of give the brothers a hard pass. Like you said, Lamar just may get drugged through the mud if he loses the game. And he could probably throw for 5 touchdowns and they lose. He's going to be the reason that they lose. C.J. Stroud has been his coach. I think him and his coach ain't nothing to lose just because rookie coaches come in, do your thing. We lose, we win, we win. Nobody's expecting us to win. Patrick Mahomes, we already know what he's doing. Jordan Love, I'm glad to see him shine the way he's shining because Green Bay was basically written to the wolves out the oh my God.
The other quarterback they had?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. He couldn't do it all. It's funny with Aaron Rodgers, they done banned him from the Pat McAfee show.
I know. I was talking about that last week, yeah.
So it's just crazy. But I think next year it's going to be even more brothers that come in and do a good job in the NFL, especially over the next 2 or 3 years, because you got some guys.
Yeah, we shall see. I know. I mean, and you're right. I think the coaching has evolved where quarterbacks, well, actually running backs a little bit, right? Because they're in the backfield. So that should have always been a weapon for quarterbacks, but then you get paid so many salaries. You don't want them running and getting hurt, but you could get hurt in the backfield. It happened to Brady. It happened to guys, even if they're statues, they get back there, they can get hurt now for a whole season. Happened for the guy from Cincinnati. I forgot his name. The one before the one in now.
But yeah, the stats show that most of the quarterback injuries are in the pocket between the hash, versus, guy getting outside the pocket or running beyond the line of scrimmage. Typically that's not where they're getting injured.
Exactly. So that we got to dispel that myth a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So who you got? Let's go back to it. Who do you have? These are my picks: Ravens, Bills, 49ers, and Lions. You guys get a chance. Who y'all got?
I'm a Lamar fan. I want to see Lamar succeed, but he has that young guy. I'm gonna go with the Ravens just because I'm a Lamar fan, but I'm scared of that game, like you said. Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will come ready to play, and they're gonna be. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Chiefs by 3. 49ers, they're going into cold territory. No. I'm sorry. They're playing in Cali. It's all going to come down to McCaffrey. If they shut him down, Green Bay got a chance to win. So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Okay. Ooh. All right.
Lions, I'm going to take the Lions over the Bucks. I'm going to take the Lions over the Bucks because I don't trust Baker Mayfield to have 2 good games in a row. He's proved it all his career. That's why he's proved right.
Okay, Ramsey, your turn.
So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think they have just too much going on. We'll see if your theory, Rich, holds true to form about the bye week and the 2 to 3 weeks off. But I think
I want to be wrong, man. I want the Ravens to win.
But I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think they got too much defensive firepower. Of course they have the offense, but if anybody's going to shut down C.J. Stroud, I think it's going to be the Ravens. For the Chiefs and the Bills, yeah, I think this is the Bills' year to get beyond the Chiefs in the playoffs. They've handled them in the regular season the last 3 years in a row. It's just get to the playoffs, they don't win the games. And those games have been in Kansas City in the past. This one's in Buffalo. So I'm going to go with the Bills. As far as the 49ers and the Packers, I think if there's an upset, I think this is it. I think the Packers, based on what they showed last week against the Cowboys, and the fact that the 49ers got spanked by the Ravens, I think the 49ers are a little vulnerable. So I'm going to go, if there's an upset, I'm going to go with that game being an upset. And then the last game, Lions and the Bucks, have to go with the Lions. They're at home. They play well in the dome. They're clicking on all cylinders right now.
I'm with you. Okay, cool. All right. The Australian Open. I mean, they still have a lot of players left, but the biggest upset so far was in the first round. And these people are not of note. But there's 5 Americans who are in the round of 64, which is going on today and tomorrow. So, including Coco Gauff. So, I mean, once it starts getting to the Sweet 16, I might put some more data in here and see where they are. But I watched the tennis. I haven't even put up the men because I really don't get into the men until later on. See who's left. You see if Monfries and Djokovic and all these guys are. I don't know. I don't even know if Nadal's even playing. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think he's. I don't know if he's playing in this, but he's back though.
I know he's back, but I don't know if he's in this tournament or not. I think I read somewhere that he said he was going to still sit out for right now. But anyway, so I get into the Australian Open. The time difference, sometimes you have to catch these games real late at night, these matches late at night or real early in the morning if you want them live. So anybody have anything else? Do you guys watch tennis?
I usually watch the U.S. Open. Always watch the U.S. Open when it comes down to the end. In fact, I went to a match.
Oh, wow. Okay.
About 5-6 years ago in New York.
Okay.
My former next door neighbor in Buffalo, she lives in Queens now, and her husband had some tickets. And that's for me and my wife. So we enjoyed that. So kind of got into it after being there live.
No, I can dig that. Were you in the big stadium or what?
Yeah, in Flushing,
Arthur Ashe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the big one.
That had to be nice, man. Had to be nice.
Yeah. It was a good experience. One of those things you want to do. Put on your experience list.
Yeah, I hear that.
I probably can't get to a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I can get to a U.S. Open. The dollar wise.
All right, so I got another one for you guys that I want to show you guys, and this one is going to be around 3 minutes long. So I want you to check this one out. And this is you guys know about the feud between Drayson Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith. And I want y'all opinions on this. I'm gonna share this with you real quick, but it's gonna take a couple minutes. This guy who has his own sports show, and he's covering the feud.
Do some shows, a series of shows that were centered on Stephen A. Smith.
He's talking about Whitlock right now.
Straight shooter. Why he decided to do that, I don't know. But anyway, he decided to do so. And he decided to systematically go through every single line of Stephen A. Smith's book to see whether or not this guy was actually saying the truth or he was just up there making up flights of fancy and just making up stories. And as he was going through the book, detailing every different thing and things that he didn't really know, Stephen A. Smith,
There
got
you
to the
there
point
you-
where he was focusing on Stephen A. Smith's basketball career, but he was referencing Stephen A. Smith's words from his memoir, right? So he would read something, reference that, talk about it, reference it, you understand. And then he gets to the part where Stephen A. Smith attained his basketball scholarship as collegiate on a collegiate level. And as he was going through it, he pointed out something, a major incongruity that even to this day, after Stephen A. Smith's 1 hour monologue, Stephen A. Smith has yet to even refute or even touch. So for those of you who didn't hear the major points, because this is really at the heart of the show here, we want to play it for you guys in its entirety. And I want you guys to listen to it very carefully before we get into the show. Take a listen to what Jason Whitlock had to say there.
So Stephen A. is saying that Winston-Salem State, at the end of their basketball season, when they're preparing for their conference tournament, and maybe trying to qualify for the Division II postseason tournament, that they play a game on Saturday. He wakes up the next morning, they're having a scrimmage that he arrives to late in the middle of, and Big House Gaines checks this 6'1", 150-pound guard from New York City who played a couple of months of high school basketball without acquiring any stats or anything, played a month or two of junior college basketball without acquiring any stats or anything. He shuts down a practice, checks Stephen A. Smith into the scrimmage, and then, according to Smith's account, he knocked down 17 straight shots in the scrimmage. And Big House Gaines offered him a full scholarship immediately after the practice. I'm reading this, and when I read it, I was like, you got.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it right there. Okay, listen. Okay, so isn't that kind of hard to believe that you hit 17 shots? Then he goes on to say that Big House Gaines is always he has his own account, and Big House Gaines always is looking for money, right? Because he doesn't have any money. So he shows how incredibly improbable it would be for him to sign somebody to a full scholarship when he doesn't even have any money as a team. So what do you guys think about? I know people hate Jason Whitlock, okay? Let's get that out of the way. But if you can take the emotions and the feelings for Jason out of the way, doesn't that story seem kind of incredulous?
Well, this is the first that I'm actually hearing of it. So this is kind of news to me, but 17 straight shots, maybe that's an exaggeration. But your point is, could the coach or Gaines truly offer Stephen a scholarship?
A full ride scholarship,
Right,
yeah,
right.
based on a scrimmage.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, like you said, he's not addressed it yet. So
he ain't touching it at all. What about you, Trey? You ever heard you?
Hey, based off of scrimmage, I was drafted second round in the NFL.
Okay. They have more data than just a scrimmage on you, though.
No, they just had a scrimmage.
What you mean they just had a scrimmage? You played
I put it in my
football.
book. You ain't read it in my book?
Okay. You trolling your ass off, brother. That's funny as hell.
I mean, it's as we get older and we talk about our sports careers, we all in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, we all in. But I'm gonna go off topic real quick. I knew a guy started Pee Wee with me. I begged my father to take the guy. He was a poor kid. We all were poor, but this kid, parents didn't have a car. My parents, they would drive me around. I was playing football. So he was my friend. He's like, man, I want to play. So I begged my father to take him, right? Play. He played. He was okay. He wasn't no standout athlete. He was pigeon-toed. He played a little linebacker. That's about all he can do. He couldn't catch. Brian, he couldn't run, but he played. He had motivation. Played high school ball with him. He could hit. He went to the service. Now, you know who his favorite team is. You don't know, but you could know just taking a guess. Everybody's favorite team, this seems like Cowboys, right?
Cowboys, go say Cowboys.
He loved the Cowboys, right? He went to college. He played for Kentucky State. He played 1 year. The next 3 years, he was a cheerleader on the team, right? Why he going around to this day telling coaches that he had a tryout for the Cowboys and Bill Bates beat him out of his position. I'm like, when I heard Stephen A's story, now, who knows? I don't think you can. You have to be if a coach comes out and watches a scrimmage or watch you play, you better have that 48-inch vertical on hand. You better score 50, 60 points. And even then, they're going to try to ask for some film of you playing ball.
No doubt about it.
I would hope that Stephen A is not lying about his basketball career.
He hasn't addressed it, man. He has not addressed that.
But
and he gives so much money to win. See, now here's the thing. He gives a lot of money to Winston-Salem State. They have no incentive to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so whatever deal he has going on with ESPN. Now going further, if you ever get to see what Jason Whitlock thinks that Stephen A is a plant. So he can, keep the masses. Like, if you look at him, they paint him as some kind of quasi-independent, but all of his positions are pretty liberal, especially when it comes to try to keep the blacks in line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he points the finger at us.
All the time. And he plays I'm a black man card a lot.
Oh, yeah, he'll play it.
Yeah, he play. I do agree with him, though, that you have to have some kind of respect for the people who pay you. I do agree on that part. Maybe if you're not willing to do that, then you're supposed to leave. But if somebody's paying you a paycheck, you can't come out and be blasting them. That's crazy. That's stupid. If you have so much displeasure with your employer, stop taking their money and move on. And so from that standpoint, I agree with him. But a lot of the rest of it, when the women come out with all that bullshit, he can't say nothing. Michelle Beadle almost got him fired. He took a 2-week hiatus just because he said, well, why did the guy beat this chick's ass? He said, with some motivation, man, but you can't even. His real point was, we don't have the full story. And then Malika Andrews came on and tried to charge him up on his own thing. And he stood up like a man and told him, this is my show, bitch. But he didn't say the bitch part. I did. But
you're correct.
So anyway, gentlemen, that was the last slide. So I appreciate y'all coming on. Any last words? Ramsey popped off. He's been popping in and out. So any last words, Trey?
I mean, I'm saying, man, you come at these things from a unique angle, and it's always interesting to hear, regardless of what everyone else's view is, you come in with a curveball at the end, like, hey, even on other topics, I'm listening to you. Right. So I appreciate that because you're a little older than me and it's a different perspective. And I'm just trying to get to a place where you are today. Always be open-minded about stuff and understand that I have a responsibility for my own life and doing better. Even though we make these commentaries on these things, I wish them all the best. I hope they all have a long career and they can feed their families forever, because regardless of how much we talk about them, we envy that a little bit because we're not in that space, so yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. I ain't got nothing bad to say.
All right, man. I appreciate you showing up, man. Like I said, I'm at 6:00 every week. And and I'm trying to keep it to like the amount of slide deck, maybe 16, 17 slides, so we can at least get some full conversation in before we move on. Because you see pretty much how the format's gonna go.
Yeah. And I've been telling my friends about it, join us and stuff. And some guys get in the background.
they could at least get in the background. If they can't cam up, they can at least put comments in the chat. So I figure, as I go on, if I get a little sliver of popularity, I think all of that will start to grow. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep on trucking.
All right, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Arpang.
Yes.
Did you play football with the leather helmets?
No, I didn't. Thanks a lot, man. No.
Okay, I'm just asking, man.
Man, I thought
in your youth days, did you have a leather helmet in your youth?
With no face guard on, my teeth might look like it, but no.
Okay, I'm just asking, man.
All right, brother.
All right, appreciate you, man.
Yep, later. Well, folks, we come to an end in the next episode 7 on the Swivel at the Sportsbar. I appreciate you guys, whoever watched, and I'm gonna put this out, for views later on. So if you don't see it live, you're gonna see the replay. So anyway, have a good day.